So, hello, welcome, Annabelle. Thanks for being here. And
Thank you for having me.
yeah, you are based in,
I'm in Los Angeles.
wow, I'm quite jealous. Me being here in Switzerland and you in LA. The weather must be
Yeah.
nice there, no?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. So, I don't know if you had a chance to check out, my past podcasts. I talk about spiritual topics, past lives, reincarnation, and yeah, I've seen you on TikTok and also on Instagram. I'm following you, and I find it quite interesting. And yeah, tell me a little bit about yourself, what you do, and how you started your journey, your spiritual journey.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say my journey as a whole is a long story. It's been a long winding road. Um Really for the past like decade, I was just so curious about so many different topics and diving into so many different modalities and um diving into all different forms of Buddhism and meditation and yoga and the chakras and astrology and the I Ching and the Kabbalah and like all these other things. And about 4 years ago, I found human design, which is kind of this mashup of all of these different ancient systems. It combines astrology with the chakras, the I Ching, the Kabbalah, bringing all these systems together to have this really new way of understanding individual human energy. And I was really struck by it because it felt like I had found kind of this like missing piece of the puzzle after I'd been like looking down and going down all these different like rabbit holes for a few years.
Okay.
So I started learning about it really just for myself and for my own understanding because I found it explained things about me and how I operate in a way that actually gave me tools to do something with it in a
Mhm.
way that other kind of things like astrology I found like really helpful, but I never really felt that practical. And yeah, it just kind of, I really just kind of stumbled into doing this.
Mhm.
I initially found the system really intuitive and I found I could really easily like guess the different energy types of my friends and my family members. And it just kind of made sense to me in a way that all of these other systems I had studied never really did. So initially, it was already really intuitive, but I just kind of learned about it for my own understanding for a few years. And then I started reading friends' charts and friends of friends, and it kind of just naturally happened. And yeah, and then I ended up starting sharing it really publicly only about like 6 months ago, and TikTok like late November. And it's just kind of built and moved really organically. And yeah, it was never really my plan to do this, but
Mm.
it just sort of happened.
Yeah. So,
So
so
yeah,
we
here
share
we
the
are.
same. Shall we? So we share the same journey. Actually, I started last
Mm,
year. I started posting on TikTok about spiritual topics mainly, and
hmm
I never would have thought that would have had so many people, asking me questions about it and following and all that. So I really
Yeah.
got into that. It was like a calling. Like I
hmm
felt, especially during these times, I need to help other people, or especially to awaken. Like we are going through an awakening, actually. In this sense.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
and would you call yourself an empath in this sense? Are you like?
Yeah. Yeah, I believe so.
Mhm.
It's interesting in human design. There's all these different energy centers in the body, and there's one that really has to do with emotions, and another one that really has to do with identity. And I have both of those centers open, meaning I take in that energy from other people.
Mhm.
I think we can all be empathic in different ways. Um, but yeah, yeah, I would definitely consider myself an empath in the more kind of traditional sense or how it's spoken about
Yeah.
for sure.
No, I'm asking because in my case, I am very empathetic because I can feel, others' energies, and it's not always easy
hmm
to deal with it. And I learned it in the hard way. I had to absorb this negative energy or positive. So I had to always deal with that, and then not let it affect me in this kind of sense. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but it's like a gift, if you can, if you know how to take it and then use it for the good, as in a positive way, then it can really help. So,
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. I think it's a beautiful thing to be so sensitive to other people. And I mean, one of the things that actually drew me to human design system was that I understood the different areas in which I'm sensitive and how I'm sensitive and how that differs from other people. So it kind of brought this level of understanding to myself and also the people in my life. Um, but it's also beautiful to kind of also decipher, like, okay, what's mine versus what's other people's, and what can I like take in
mhm,
versus what am I maybe like over identifying with? Because I know in the past I used to do that a lot. I'd really over identify with other people's emotions and take things really personally and things like that. But yeah, understanding that openness and sensitivity is such a beautiful gift to be able to like reflect that back to others and mirror back to other people where they're at. I think that's a really beautiful thing. It's just my journey personally has been more about understanding, okay, what's not mine and what can I like just leave with other people
mhm.
and maybe not take in so deeply.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's a process.
because at the end of the day, whatever we have in our environment is because we attracted it. No, we created it
Mm-hmm.
in a in a way. But
Yeah,
most people, they don't realize it, and they blame other circumstances for it. The government or
right,
whatever. So
right,
I
right.
mean, we all have control over what's happening, around us.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Yeah, I think we have a lot more agency than we give ourselves credit for sometimes.
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
when would you say that you had your like spiritual awakening? When was it the first time? When did you realize that
Hmm.
you?
Yeah. I mean, I'm cautious to call myself like a fully awakened
Mhm,
being. I think we're all very much on a journey, but I think a lot really clicked for me quite young. When I was 19, I had an experience of a friend dying,
mhm,
and it was the first kind of experience I had with death that wasn't someone older or someone who died of kind of like a long illness. Like it was a very kind of sudden accident type situation. And there was something in that experience about being confronted with the fact that this life does end and nothing is permanent that really kind of shocked me into this curiosity of like, okay, what's underneath? Like, if even our bodies can end, then what is the thing that continues? And that's really what kind of started, I think, my whole journey in a really kind of sudden way. Like it was sort of an overnight thing. It was sort
mhm,
of like there was a very distinct before and after. Um, Even though, yeah, I mean, it was like it was one person in my life, it was one event, but it had this total shift on how I viewed the world, because I think I was going through, as most teenagers and young people are, just thinking that I was invincible and that everything would continue forever, and I hadn't experienced a lot of loss outside of what felt natural, and this was something that didn't feel natural. So then like a lot of
mhm.
questions arose from that. So yeah, I'd say that was really the beginning in a way.
Yeah. Would it be easier for you if you would have known that your soul before you were born decided to go through all of these experiences? I mean, I'm sure
Mm,
you know about that, no? I mean, you heard about
mm-hmm,
that.
mm-hmm,
That you have like a
mm-hmm.
soul contract in this sense, no?
Yeah, yeah. Would it be easier? I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Easier,
Um,
like in a way of accepting what happened, for example, with your friend or with your
right,
relative when they
right.
die, that you can
Mm-hmm.
let go easier. That's what I mean. Because you know
Mm,
that they're in a better place, or that they assigned to this um, experience, I would say.
right, right. Yeah, I guess in that way that makes sense to me. I think there is something beautiful in learning to be in that unknown space and understanding and accepting that like we can't ever really fully know what's
Mm.
going to happen, or like what we really fully signed up for. And I think that's been a really beautiful thing for me, and really like the journey over the past decade or so has been about learning
Mm.
to accept the unknown and to accept the fact that everything ends and I don't know when or why or how,
Yeah.
but it will. And yeah, I think that's given me more peace than wanting or wishing that I could like grasp to some
Mm.
knowing, because ultimately there isn't that much that's known.
Yeah, but when you say that it ends, it doesn't actually end. It's just
Hmm.
a process. You
Of course.
you
Yeah.
go from
Yeah.
one, because we are in this body to go through all of these experiences and lessons, and
Hmm.
then we actually move on. That's how it is,
Right.
at the end.
Right.
So
Yeah, it is a transformation more than an ending for sure.
mm,
Um, but yeah, I mean, I guess I just mean ending in terms of like our human minds and what we grasp, and
yeah,
no longer being able to like have the physical experience of something or someone or whatever it is.
yeah.
So making peace with that really has been the biggest thing for me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Could you tell me a little bit more about, you call your thing, your site, or
Hmm.
Wildhome?
Yes.
What meaning does it have?
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
wild
So
home?
yeah. I When I decided to start talking about human design
Mm-hmm.
publicly and doing readings for people publicly, and really just like making it a business, I wanted to create a name and something that was kind of independent of me. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
just want to have like just my name on it. Even though my TikTok and everything else is my name, I knew I kind of wanted something that was slightly separate. So I was really just thinking about how has human design been so important to me, and what are like the big lessons I've learned from it. And really the biggest thing that I've learned from it is that like when we stop going to war with our nature, when we stop going to war with how we naturally are or how we've been since we were kids or how we were naturally designed, like I mean, I've done hundreds of readings at this point, and every single person experiences it as something that's really familiar. I have yet to do a reading for someone where they experience it as brand new information. Like typically it's something they felt since they were a kid or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, like throughout their whole life. They just never had the language for it. So this idea that we all have this inherent nature and we've just been taught so much to move away from that, or that there's other ways to be, is really kind of drawn to this idea that like you are your own home, you are kind of your own base, and that home, that nature of yours is something natural, it's something
Mm-hmm.
wild. So
Mm-hmm.
this idea of wild home, it kind of started just with this idea that like you are your own wild home, and like it's something you can always come back to, the sense of home being this like safe place, but also wild, it's nature, it's natural, it's something that's like bigger than you as well. So the name really came from that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, I just liked it and ran with it.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like the name. I like the
Yeah.
name. It
Hmm.
has a meaning, like something deep.
Yeah.
And what about the fingerprint? What is it about that one?
Mm. Yeah. So that kind of came from, I mean, the human design chart. There's all these different gates and channels and things connecting your different energy centers, and it kind of is an echo of that, but then also an echo of the fingerprint. So
Mm-hmm.
just this idea that, I mean, I really see human design in your chart as like your energetic fingerprint or your energetic blueprint, and we're all designed very differently. So that logo, it literally came to me in a dream.
Oh, really?
But
Okay.
yeah, I like shot up out of bed, and I'm not a very good drawer, and I just kind of like did this spirally thing and sent it to a friend of mine who's this genius graphic designer, visual artist, and he was able to help me like bring it to life. But it's kind of playing off the human design chart, but also this idea that we're all very unique and we all have our own unique
Okay.
fingerprint. So
Yeah.
kind of a mashup of these different things. Yeah.
Interesting. I
Hmm.
mean, in total, I like it. Wild home and fingerprint, something that has
Thanks. Yeah.
a deeper meaning.
Yeah.
So when you do readings, how is it, do you are you connected with the spiritual world or with your higher self, or how does it work?
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because I mean in human design there's all these different gates and channels and different qualities and aspects of energy, and you can have some that are stronger in you and some that are maybe a bit more unconscious. And one of my leading gates is gate 57, which has to do with this intuitive knowing and this ability to like know what to do and what to say in the moment.
Mhm.
So that's one of my strongest gifts. And also I have different things that have to do with like being able to identify patterns and see patterns and explain complex things in simple ways and things like that. So when I'm looking at someone's chart, when I'm looking at someone's body graph, like I am just kind of relaying them the information in my understanding. But um, there definitely is something else that comes through. There is this sense of I have always just kind of intuitively been able to look at someone's chart and understand like what to focus on for them.
Mhm.
It's something that comes like really in the moment for me when I'm with someone and and looking at their body graph. So yeah, it definitely feels like it's coming from a, a sort of like higher mind. It's not really coming necessarily always from this very like logical place of like, okay, you have this gate, this channel, this center, da, da, da. Like I just there's a kind of an intuition that takes over when I'm sitting with someone where I can understand like what to focus on and
Yeah.
what it is maybe that they need to hear. Because really with everyone's chart, like yeah, we're very different, but there's not so much variation. Like there are going to be people in the world who have a similar chart to you, but it can express itself in lots of different ways. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's definitely something more intuitive that takes over
Mm.
when I'm speaking with people.
Yeah. That's what I like when you say intuitive. We all have an intuition
Hmm.
at the end, but we don't
Totally.
use it. We don't use it.
Yeah.
So if we all would use the intuition we have and trust our gut feeling, like we say,
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
we would realize what's, for example, happening now around the world. I
Right.
mean, for if I talk
Right.
in my case, I had always this knowingness before all this thing started, pandemic and all that. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even have to watch the news or inform myself. I always knew from my intuition that what's happening, it's not the reality in this kind of sense. The
Mm-hmm.
real, or what really is happening, is it inside you.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of trusting or believing or hearing whatever you hear in the news or whatever, trust your intuition, your intuitive
Right.
guides, because they
Right.
know what the truth is at the end. No?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, and I mean that's one of the things I love so much about human design. It's literally guiding people back to, okay, how does intuition work uniquely for you? How does your body's guidance work uniquely for you? Like we all have different things to listen to. Like for some people it might be a gut feeling, for some people it might be more like an emotional thing, for some people it might be more like instinct in the moment knowing. For some people it might be something that's more coming from like your heart or your sense of like your truth or your voice. So understanding these different systems, it's about like no longer outsourcing our guidance to other people or other systems or like trusting everyone outside of ourselves. It's like actually coming back to what can you trust in you, and how can you listen to that like above all the other voices, because there's so many voices outside telling us like what to think and what to believe and what to trust and what to do and who to follow and all of these things. And I just love that there's this tool, these different systems, and of course human design isn't like the only thing, but there's so many different ways to come back to like, okay, what's actually true for you. And I think this is becoming increasingly important, and I think in the future it's going to be ultimately way more important to trust yourself. I think we're really moving into a time of more like individual guidance. Like, I mean, just even now, like everything going on and just reading all these things in the media, like it's really about discernment and coming back to like, okay, maybe what they're saying isn't so true. Like, what actually feels true in my body, and coming back to that. And I think more and more and more we need to trust that and learn how to trust that ultimately.
exactly, that's how it is.
Yeah.
Learn
Yeah.
how to trust that, because when people ask me what do you think about that, I always tell them, what does your intuition tell you? I'm not going to go into debate with them, whether it's true or not, or what you have to do in this case. Everybody knows for themselves what's good or not, and we are all in different stages or phases in our
Right.
lives. So We cannot judge or tell, anyone else, you have to do this or that. They know for
Right.
themselves what's good for them, And
Mm-hmm.
I must say, um, at at this stage, um, the best thing you can do for yourself is really get in touch with yourself. Get intuitive, listen to your intuition, because it knows what is best for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I totally agree. I just think it's challenging because I mean sometimes people don't know, like they hear like listen to your intuition or listen to your gut, but they don't know like how to even do that. A lot of
mm,
people are so kind of removed from themselves or have been taught to just live in their heads or live in their minds. And I think that's where a lot of the challenge comes for a lot of people. Um, and I think that's why it's such a gift to have these systems like human design, like all these other things, to bring you back into your body and bring you back into like, okay, what does that actually mean for you?
mm,
Because some people aren't. I mean, I think some people are born or raised or um, have learned over time to really trust their intuition and understand that. But I mean, for me personally, it took me years to even understand like what is my intuition and like what's an intuitive hit versus just like a regular thought in my head or maybe something I picked up from someone else. And yeah, it can take time as well. And I think right now like more and more and more people are beginning that process if they haven't already, or
mm,
going deeper into that process of understanding how to trust themselves and what that even looks like for them. And it's different for different people.
mm.
Yeah.
I must admit, me talking with you now, I had already other podcasts, but with you, I feel a real, I don't know, like calming connection. I could talk with you
Oh.
hours, and I don't feel like this, this pressure. Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean,
That's
I can
sweet.
feel this energy. It's
Mm-hmm.
crazy, but I like it. I like it. Tell me, what's your take about 3D and 5D? Like
Oh gosh.
you hear a lot of people are, going into the fifth dimension. I mean,
Hmm.
especially now during this time. How do you see
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. It's, I mean, I definitely had my time and my moment with that stuff. I don't, I never want to say I know for sure. So I never want to say people are lying to themselves or, oh, yeah, for sure, people are moving into the fifth dimension or there is a fifth dimension, like anything like that. But how I feel about it when I read a lot of the things that are out there, I watch people talk about like moving into the fifth dimension or like third dimension, fifth, like to me, a lot of it, there are things that I see or read and I'm like, yeah, okay, I trust you, I believe you. And then there's a lot of it that I see or read and I feel like this is just another form of duality for you. And
Mm,
okay, maybe you're in the fifth dimension, but also other people are still perceiving you in the third dimension if that's the case. So is this actually making you a better person or is
mm.
this like,
Yeah.
so I'm actually quite like practical minded in that way, and in the sense that like, okay, how is this helping you be a better person to your family, your community, like the people in your life? Like, is this helping you in your relationships? Is this helping you help other people? I
Mm,
think in some cases yes, and in some cases I feel like a lot of that stuff is, it can sort of be almost like spiritual bypassing as well, of like, oh, I'm in the fifth dimension now, so I don't need to like deal with any of this other stuff, when really a lot of it can be quite ungrounded in my experience. So I kind of just remove myself from that conversation entirely, until I find like an access point that's like really practical. It's like I don't really, yeah, I just feel like a lot of it is people finding another way to sort of separate themselves, which is a
mm.
very third
Yeah.
dimensional thing. So yeah, it's tricky. I think it's a fine line with that stuff. It just kind of
Yeah,
depends
but
on whatever you're
it,
doing.
it is tricky, but in the spiritual sense is, we are evolving in this
Of
sense,
course.
So
Of course. Yeah.
that's the whole thing about, to evolve,
Mm-hmm.
to be pure, let's say pure love. If you can
Mm-hmm.
achieve that, to see everything,
Mm-hmm.
to see everything as pure love. It doesn't matter if people attack you or know what, or if you achieve, if you long to be at that state, of
Hmm.
answering with love and be love and all that. Then, because at the end, the answer for everything is love, no?
Right, right. Yeah,
So,
yeah. And in terms of like the evolution and we're shifting, we're changing, like I'm totally behind that.
mm,
Um, it's more just when people use the language or the verbiage of like 3D versus 5D versus whatever D, it's like it can get a bit ridiculous.
yeah,
But yeah,
that's true.
yeah, we're always
Yeah,
evolving.
yeah.
Hmm.
And how do you see it, for example, in the karmic aspect? Like when
Mm.
I call that when you reincarnate and you have to still pay some karmas back or whatever you had in past lives.
Hmm.
Uh, do you think like when you have had past karmas that in this lifetime you can redo it or like unsolve it?
I
Is
think
it?
so. I believe so. Um, I mean, I again like can't say for sure.
Mm,
I also truly haven't dove too much into like past life regression or anything like that. So
okay.
I don't have a ton of, I don't feel like I have a ton of awareness over um, like personal experience in that way. Like I don't really, that's never been something that particular has drawn to me. But
Yeah.
um, I mean, I studied different forms of Buddhism for a long time, and I 100% believe in past lives, and I feel very connected to different lifetimes in particular ways.
Mhm.
I think, I mean, yeah, just back to this idea that we're always evolving and we're always kind of transforming and shifting. Like, of course, some of us have been here before and some of us have been here longer than others, and we're shifting and moving. And I do believe that certain aspects of life are karmic, even like connections with other people. And
Mhm.
um, there are certain situations or certain people or places or whatever that we kind of need to unwind some stuff.
Yeah.
And that has a particular like flavor or feeling to it. So yeah, I totally believe that that's like part of everyone's journey, whether they're aware of it or not.
Yeah. What would you say? I mean, you're more into astrological sense, no? You're more connected in the astrological sense, no? Like you are connected with the stars, with the universe, and everything. Uh, do you see it more that you are connected for a reason, like into astrology, or
Mm. Mm.
how do you?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, I mean, human design is different from human design takes astrology as a component of it, but it's very different from astrology in the sense that it's not predictive.
Mhm.
So it's not going to tell you like in 2023, like this might happen to you. It's more in terms of how are you designed to use your energy and make decisions. And I think I was really drawn to the system or connected to the system for a particular reason. I think I do have a particular gift at explaining it.
Yeah.
Um, I I really see it as all these different systems, all these different things, whether it's astrology, human design, past lives, something else. I see it all as different languages, and
Hmm.
there's just a fluency that is naturally there for me with this one particular language
Okay.
that is pretty new. Like human design's only actually been around since 1987, so it's interesting that I kind of studied different components of it before I stumbled into it, and then I stumbled into it and I was able to like pick it up so quickly. So
Hmm.
yeah, I think we're all just born with like fluency for different languages and different aspects of different languages. So yeah, certain
Hmm.
people will find answers in astrology, certain people will find answers in something totally different, certain people will feel drawn towards human design, and
Yeah.
for whatever reason this is the one that I was given. But
When
yeah.
when you say, for example, you offer courses, like what kind of
Hmm.
courses you offer?
Hmm. Yeah, so I mostly most of my time is doing like individual one-on-one readings for people for their whole chart, but I have little like video courses for people to understand their energy type. So in human design,
Mhm,
there are 5 different energy types, and it's kind of how you're designed to like, essentially give and take energy with the world around you,
mhm,
how you're designed to like give and get opportunities and like really just like make things happen in the world. And it's like the umbrella under which everything else of your chart falls. So it's very basic in that sense. And when you get into your own individual chart, it's like this 100-layer onion, and there's so many things underneath it. But your energy type, I really hope that we get to a point where people know their energy type just like people know their sun sign in astrology. So I have these video courses
mhm,
um, just for people to understand their energy type from my take and my point of view, because it is this new system and there's a lot of things on the internet out
mhm.
there, but there also isn't that much out there on it. And a lot of the information that's out there on human design is quite dense, in my opinion, or just not the most uplifting. So I just created these resources for people to understand, and I'm hoping in the future to create more and more so people can kind of dive into different aspects of their chart if they're not
Mm.
ready to do like a full individual reading. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's really what the courses are.
So when you mentioned energy levels, like
Hmm.
what kind of energy levels are? How many are there?
So there's, yeah, so the energy types.
Yeah, energy.
So in human design, there's 5 different energy types,
Mhm,
and there's this kind of divide or this split between the 5 where you can either be what's called an energy being or a non-energy being. So the energy beings are generators, manifestors, and manifesting generators. So those 3 types. Manifesting generators are sort of like this hybrid between those two.
mhm,
Non-energy beings are projectors and reflectors. So these 5 different types, essentially energy beings, they create their own life force, they create their own energy. It's like they actually get energy from doing things that are in alignment for them. So they have this engine, this life force that they can create from or act from.
mhm,
Whereas the non-energy beings, the projectors and reflectors, they don't have that same engine. So they're more here to guide or mirror energy rather than be
mhm,
the ones who are doing the doing and kind of like creating things out of nowhere and getting energy from doing things that they love. So it's like we just have these very distinct ways that our energy is meant to operate in the world. Like we're so often told that you just need to like make things happen and like create things out of nothing, but very few people are actually designed in that way. Like
mhm,
some people, their energy works in a more nonlinear way. Some people are more designed to be super productive for 3 to 4 hours a day, and then the rest of the time just hone in on whatever their gifts are. Some
mhm,
people are really here to be these like total mirrors to other people. So
mhm.
yeah, it goes into how you're designed to operate in that way.
Yeah. But does it have to do also with your chakras? Because if your chakras are not open, then you have to balance them,
Yeah,
no?
so your type, yeah, your type is determined by what energy centers you have defined or undefined. So where you have consistent access to energy versus where you
Mhm,
have inconsistent access to that energy. So in human design, it's kind of like an expansion of the chakra system. So in the chakra system, most people know that there's like 7 energy centers running up and down the body. Human design says basically we've evolved since then. So we currently have 9 energy centers. In the
mhm,
future, we'll have 11. Things are
mhm.
just expanding and changing and moving. But
Okay.
yeah, your type is determined by the definition or the openness of those centers. So
Mhm.
where you have access to that energy versus where you don't. So
Yeah.
everyone has the same skeleton of their chart, but it's kind of like lit up in different areas, and that determines your
Mhm.
type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because yesterday I just posted a video about the chakras, how to balance it through crystals, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Crystals can also help a lot, no, to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I have one crystal here. You know, I'm wearing it. It's
Mm-hmm.
what's it called? I forgot the name. It cleans the energy in a
Mm-hmm.
sense of way that like it's like I would say like a shield. You know, when somebody tries to drain my energy, it's like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so crystals
Yeah.
can help a lot, no, in this sense.
Mm-hmm.
Do-
Yeah. Yeah. There's lots of beautiful tools to kind of like protect your energy in a way, and
Yeah.
yeah, make sure you're
Yeah.
not taking in too much
What do you mean? Too much from the?
from
You
your
mean from?
environment, from other
Okay.
people, from whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, look, in this sense. we always have to protect ourselves, with our
Mm-hmm.
energies. But there are different ways. You can do that by, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, crystals, and you can also go into nature, to balance
Mm-hmm.
yourself, or you can do
Yeah.
meditation. I don't know, what do you do, for example? Do you have anything you recommend?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's different for everyone. In understanding from a human design perspective, like where specifically I take in energy, what's helpful for me
Hmm.
on a really kind of like practical day-to-day way. Like, for example, I have undefined or open head centers. So
Okay.
it's really easy for me to kind of take in other people's like points of view or opinions or ideas or um, just like other people's kind of like mental chatter. So
Yeah.
whenever I feel like I'm really gripping onto a point of view or really gripping onto like one side of a situation, I always kind of like ask myself, like, okay, is this really like what I believe? Or maybe have I interpreted this from someone else?
Hmm.
I also know I'm very open emotionally. So if I'm ever feeling like really sad for some reason, I can't quite put my finger on why, I ask myself, like, okay, is this mine or is this someone else's?
Hmm.
So, and different centers kind of have like corresponding questions like that. So for me, a lot of it is like practically just like catching myself in the moment when I'm off, or maybe when I'm thinking certain things or feeling certain things that maybe aren't really mine or aren't in line with how I know I'm designed or how I know my energy is meant to operate, and asking, like, okay, is this really true for me, or am I maybe picking this up from someone else?
Hmm.
And then in terms of different practices, I mean, I think for everyone, like there's truly nothing like moving your body to like get rid of stagnant energy. So even just like walking and yeah, I just make sure I move my body every day, even if it's just going for a walk for an hour in the middle of the day or something. I really try and like break up my day in that way,
Yeah.
because I am like doing a lot of kind of more intensive one-on-one work with people, like when I'm
Hmm.
doing chart reading. So I try and always like go for a walk, move my body, do things like that in the middle,
Mm. Yeah.
just to kind of like break it all up, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, but really
Yeah.
simple things.
Yeah. Because if you have blocked energy, it can also be harmful for your health. No, it can
Of course,
really.
yeah.
So if you don't release it, it releases negative this energy you have from a
Mm-hmm.
trauma or something. Something you had in the past, and it
Yeah.
can make you feel ill at one point.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
And I think so much of the challenges so many people face are because they're not in their bodies, and we're often not in our bodies because there's things we've been carrying around that we haven't fully like processed or felt through. So
Mhm.
getting into your body and like different even just like embodiment practices can be such a bridge for people to connect to their intuition and to connect to their emotions and whatever
Mhm.
it is for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so important to clear things out and get into your body and process whatever it is you need to process, whether it's on a day-to-day level or like big kind of historical things, whether it's trauma or something else.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's so essential.
Yeah. Yeah. No, great. So people, if they want to book a session, they go over your Instagram or TikTok, no, on the
Yeah, or to
bio.
just directly to my website, which is wild-home, but that's linked in my
Okay.
TikTok, which is Annabelle Blythe. My
Yeah.
Instagram is Wildhome with periods in between every letter.
Okay.
But yeah,
Yeah, but I will post anyway
my
the links underneath,
beautiful,
so
wonderful.
so
Yeah.
people can reach out to you.
Mhm.
And
Amazing.
great. So yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation.
Me too.
I'm really interested in what you said about human design. I have to
Mm-hmm.
look into it more.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, I'm following, so I'm
Wonderful. Wonderful. Stay in touch.
following you, and I'm looking for your future posts. So
Thank you.
great.
Thank you.
So I
Appreciate
will
it.
put, I will, like I said, I will post the links for you, and then
Mm-hmm.
people can look up for you, look into your page, and
Wonderful.
yeah, thanks for this interesting conversation,
Yeah, thank you so
and
much. This was so lovely.
yeah, and I hope we can have soon another one, because I like
Yeah.
this conversation. I mean, I see that there's a
Yeah.
lot of potential to continue this conversation,
Mhm.
And yeah, I wish you. I mean, it's 10 a.m. in the morning, no, 10:40.
Yeah, 10:40.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So you still have the whole day ahead. For me,
Whole
it's
day
almost
ahead.
finished. So
Yeah.
great. So Annabelle, it was wonderful. I enjoyed the conversation. Take care,
You
and
too.
see you soon.
Yeah, see you soon. Sleep
Thank-
well.
Thanks.